Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're doing a one-off show. This is entitled Progressive Rock Bands I Don't Like. And I've made this specifically because DB asked me for it. The problem was I looked through everything I had. I looked through all the bands that I could find on the internet and thought about it, and I can only really say with any definitive stuff that there's two I don't like, and then the rest of them, and really I can't even say that. I can say there's only really one band I don't like that's progressive rock, and then the rest of them are kind of bands that I have an issue with, or I don't really care for, or there's something about certain aspects I don't like. But there's really no bands there's none I hate, for sure. There's just only really one band I kind of dislike, and there's a specific reason why I dislike them. But I put down about 8 bands in total, of which I would say most of them have reasons why I don't really listen to them, but I don't necessarily dislike them. So even though I'm calling this 5 progressive rock bands I don't like, I really can't say I don't like them. I can only say that I don't really care for them as much as some other bands. So anyways, we'll start. I do have props for 2 of them anyways, which isn't surprising since I don't really listen to them. There's no point. I'm not likely going to have props for them. So anyways, so we're going to do this now. So I'm going to do it pretty much the normal way I would do it. I'll do the band that I like the least. The band that is my least favorite, I'll do that last. I'll do the number 5 first, and 4, 3, 2, 1 all the way up, and then I might mention the other bands as well. Okay, so the first band on my list of bands that I don't like, I actually don't hate either. I don't hate this band. I don't dislike them. I'm just not driven by their music too much. There's a few songs by them I do like, but on the whole I don't really ever listen to them. I do have a couple of their CDs, a couple tracks I do like. This particular one, there's a couple songs on here I like, but for the most part I don't really listen to the band, so I really don't have much to say about it. And then we're talking about this band, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I've never really warmed up to these guys. I don't dislike them. I don't follow them. So usually the only time I grow to hate something really is if I'm bombarded with it constantly and I don't really want to listen to it. Then I start hating it for that reason, but not necessarily because of the band. So the only reason Emerson, Lake and Palmer makes this over some of the other bands is because a lot of progressive rock people like this stuff, and you have to listen to it, and you have to talk to it. They talk about it, and they want to know what you like and don't like about it. So that's the only reason why they're on this list. It's not because I don't like them. I've just never been drawn to them. Okay, so the next band up, I don't have a prop for. It's not a band I've ever followed. I have listened to a few of their songs. There's one I don't mind, but as a whole, the couple times I've had to listen to some albums by them, they just don't do anything for me. I don't hate them by any means. They just, to me, completely unmemorable, and I never think about them, and that's the Moody Blues. Never had any interest in listening to their stuff, never been motivated to move in that direction at all. Okay, the number 3 band, that I think probably could go a little bit lower. And I don't really hate these guys. I do like some of their music, but it's not the progressive stuff. And to be honest with you, the progressive stuff I heard just didn't do anything for me. They're an American band, of course. You know that I'm not a big fan of progressive rock from the States, but I don't dislike this band. They just don't do anything for me, and that's the Electric Light Orchestra. They probably shouldn't be this high up. Maybe I dislike them a little bit less than some of the other bands, but you know, on the whole, I don't really find myself thinking about them too much either, and I don't own anything by them and never really have. In fact, the only song that I ever really liked by them wasn't even a progressive rock song, and that's Don't Bring Me Down. Okay, so the number 2 band is probably the first one that kind of falls into the dislike category, and I have to say that there are stuff by them I do like. There's some stuff that they put out that I do like. But generally on a whole, I don't really like their music, and there's a couple of albums they have I don't like at all. And that's Saga, the Canadian progressive rock band Saga. And I know I'm going to take some heat from this because there are people who follow me on my channel who like these guys a lot. And I don't have a problem with that. You know, I can see why people like them. There are things about them that is probably likable. They just don't do anything for me, so I'd never listen to them. But I by no means hate them or anything like that. The only time, like I said, the only time I would grow to hate something is if I was constantly being inundated with something I didn't really care for. Then, you know, it's just natural not to like it and then grow to hate it, right? So the number 1 band, Van der Graaf Generator. I've got a couple of their albums. I bought them based on what people said about them. And I suppose musically they're not too bad. You know, the other album, which I have here, this one, I thought I would like it a little more, and I don't like either of these albums. I've actually considered getting rid of them. But I'm not even sure if it's the music that I don't like about them. I think it's just Peter Hamill's voice. I cannot stand it at all. Yet I do like the other album that I have him doing vocals on, and I think that the reason I like it is because Amorphous Androgynous used him as a vocalist on one of their albums. And I think the reason that I like it is because they controlled his voice. They kept it to a low amount. They put it kind of in the background and didn't allow him to screech and sing at high balls. They used his voice in a way that suited their music, and it wasn't bad. I actually don't mind. I like that album. And his voices aren't a negative on it. But with Van der Graaf Generator, no. Every song I listen to, this grates on my soul. Yeah, probably at this point in time, they're the only band, progressive rock band, that I don't like. Now, I'm sure there's other bands I don't like too, but you got to remember, in order for me not to like the band, I have to be pushed to listen to them all the time. And there are some bands that I don't listen to. Doesn't mean I don't like them. I've never had any interest in listening to them, and they've not motivated me enough to do it. So some of the other bands that I'll mention. So you got basically Van der Graaf Generator before I go on. Van der Graaf Generator, number 1. Saga, number 2. ELO, number 3. Moody Blues, number 4. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, number 5. And the last 3, or at least the last 2, Moody Blues and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I don't dislike them. I just don't think about them. They're not a band that interests me. So of the other bands I wrote down, and I wrote down a few that I don't dislike these bands, I just never listen to them. So Roxy Music is another one. There are some Roxy Music songs I don't mind, but as a whole, as a band as a whole, I don't really care for their music overall, so I don't listen to them much. UK is another band. Yeah, some of their stuff isn't bad, and I think the guitar player in that band is fantastic. I really think that's the best part of that band. But their songs, I can't remember any of them because it's just simply unmemorable to me. And John Wetton, he just bothers me. I'm sorry. Even though I do like him with King Crimson, and I didn't mind him with Asia, there's something about the guy that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I'll figure it out someday, if I put my mind to it, which I probably won't. So the other band is Kansas. This is a band that I should like. There's everything about them I should like, but I don't. I mean, they have a tremendous vocalist, Actually, Robbie Steinhardt's a pretty good vocalist as well. You know, they've got some great instrumentation. The keyboards are phenomenal in the band. I could list all of the individual things about them that I like, that I think are really good, that I recognize as being good. Their ability to put good songs together. They even have the song "Dust in the Wind," which is to me a great song. So there's a couple that are really strong, but on the whole, I just when I put the album on, I found myself doing this several times. I put their albums on, and I can hardly wait for it to come to an end. And it's not because I dislike them. I don't. I just don't find their music memorable for me. But the more people push on me with Kansas, you know, it's starting to grow to that point where I'm starting to not like them. So I'm trying not to, because I think that at some point, like some other bands that I've had issues with, I will eventually overcome that and really like them. I'm hoping that might happen. But at this point, it isn't. The other band is kind of a half measures band here. So there's actually a couple like this. But we'll deal with the one right here now. I love the first 4 Marillion albums. I love them. And not necessarily because Fish is such a great vocalist or that he's better than Steve Hogarth. I think Steve Hogarth has an amazing voice and is a great singer and probably has a better voice than Fish, but I don't think it has anything to do with the vocals. I think it just has to do with the style of the band now. It's very different than the original. It's like 2 different bands, really. It's like Marillion 1 and Marillion 2. Marillion 1 I really like. Marillion 2, very unmemorable. I don't care to listen to that stuff at all. I've grown somewhat distant from it, I guess. Maybe it'll change though, you know. And then the other band that I didn't write down here, but I should mention, is Genesis. You know, I love all of that early Genesis stuff up till, and then there were 3. I love it. And even some of the pop stuff that came out after, I don't mind. But as they got further along, or further away from their progressive elements, they tended to get worse. At one point, I would say in the late 80s and 90s, they just started sounding like Phil Collins' solo albums. And to be honest, I have like a lot of Phil Collins' solo stuff. I got 5 or 6 of his albums, and I like them. But as he went along, I liked him less and less. So, yeah. So I don't. Of course, it's Genesis. I love Genesis, and it's Marillion's early stuff. I love those stuff. So I can't really definitively say I do not like this band. I just perhaps don't care for what they're doing now, or in case of Genesis, what they did after. Other than that, and you know, this could even apply to maybe Yes as well. Like a lot of the stuff that's come out in the last couple of decades or so hasn't been great. I mean, they've had a few. Like I like Fly From Here. I like The Ladder. There's a song on the last album that came out that I like quite a bit. If they'd done more like that, the album would have been much better. But, you know, it is what it is, right? And of course, that stuff in the 80s that everybody cites as being very different, the 90125 and Big Generator and Talk. Well, I don't know Talk too well, but the other 2, I liked them when they came out. They don't think they're as memorable now as they were then, but you know. And you know, Rush is the same way. You know, Rush had their 80s stuff, especially the early 80s stuff after Signals. Those first 2 or 3 or 4 albums after Signals, I did not like those albums at all. But can I definitively say I don't like Rush? Of course not. They're my favorite band. So, anyways, that's about as much as I can say about this topic. It's not a topic that I really wanted to do, but I promised that I would. The reason I didn't really want to do it is because I'd rather spend the time talking about stuff I do like and not about stuff I don't like, you know. Usually with me, if I don't like something, it's not necessarily that I don't like it. It's to me, it doesn't get rated until I don't listen to it, I don't play it, so I don't think about it, you know. So there you have it. There's my kind of 5 progressive rock bands I don't like, or if you prefer 5 progressive rock bands I don't really care for, or 5 progressive rock bands that are very unmemorable or not memorable enough to me, whatever you want to call it, And I know I'll take some hits for some of these, but you hear it the way you hear it. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that cannot stand Rush. And they may have very valid reasons for not liking them, but I'm not going to share that opinion because they're my favorite band, right? Just the way it is. Anyways, there you have it. So if you like this video, please like. And if you have any comments about any of the things I've said, by all means, feel free. As long as you're not abusive and say I'm retarded or something like that. And I very well maybe, but I don't really want to hear it either. So if you want to just talk about it and how you feel about it, that's great. Or if you want to say that I'm not listening to it right, or whatever you want to say, that's fine. As long as you have a valid point. If you're just insulting, I probably won't answer you. I might even remove you from the list. Anyways, there you have it. So please subscribe. It's much appreciated. And this video will probably come out. I'm thinking I'm going to release it on Thursday. Actually, not Thursday. It won't be Thursday. It'll probably be Friday, because Thursday I have Something New, which is the show that I do with the new albums that have come out. So that'll probably come out Thursday. So I hope you enjoy this. Talk to you later and have a good evening. Bye.